Hey, and welcome back to the Natural English Podcast. My name is Alex. I am really glad you are here with us today.
And I am Sarah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening, wherever you are right now.
Yeah, wherever you are. So, I am curious. Are you listening on a bus, maybe on a train, or are you just relaxing at home, maybe on the sofa, with some headphones on?
I always imagine at least a few people standing on a really crowded train, trying not to fall over, one hand on the rail, and listening to us at the same time.
Yeah, like squeezed between strangers and still trying to improve their English. If that is you right now, respect, stay safe, and keep breathing.
And if you are at home, that is okay too. You can just relax and imagine the bus or the train in your head.
So today, we are talking about everyday public transport. All those little stories from buses, trams, subways, trains, the delays, the crowded carriages, the small problems that can really ruin your morning.
Yeah, the real life stuff. Being late for work, missing your stop, standing next to someone with very loud music, things like that.
And our goal in this episode is simple. We want to help you describe these experiences and your feelings in clear, natural English. The kind of English you hear from real people, but still perfect for your level, around B2.
So not just words like train or bus, but the way people really talk about a bad commute or a long journey.
To start, we have a little listening challenge for you. Nothing too serious, just something to focus your ears. In a moment, Sarah will tell a short story about a stressful commute.
When you listen, try to relax. You do not need to understand every single word. Just listen for the main idea.
But if you want a challenge, listen carefully and try to catch two things. First, what caused the delay in her story? And second, which word she uses to describe how she felt. Was it annoyed, stressed, or relieved?
Just keep those two questions in your mind, but do not worry. If you miss something, it is totally fine. We will check the answers together after my story.
Okay, so listening challenge ready. Sarah, can you tell us about a recent commute?
Sure, so this happened last week. I was taking the subway across the city to get to an appointment. It was during the morning rush hour, so the train was already pretty full when I got on. And then, at the next few stops, even more people got on. It became completely packed. Really, we were packed like sardines. I had strangers right in front of my face, and behind me, and on both sides. I could not even move my arms. I was just stuck on the train. At first I thought, okay, it is busy, but it is fine. I still have time. But then, suddenly the train stopped in a tunnel, and we just stayed there. No movement. After a minute or two, the driver made an announcement. There was a signal problem ahead, so we had to wait. 5 minutes passed, then 10, and I could feel everyone getting more and more uncomfortable. It was hot. There was no fresh air, and we were all standing so close together. I checked the time on my phone, and I realized I was definitely going to be late. In the end, when we finally started moving again, I ended up being about 20 minutes late for my appointment, and honestly, I was so annoyed. Not angry at any person, just really annoyed at the whole situation, the delay, the crowd, the stress.
Oh no, that is the worst. Being stuck in a tunnel, on a full train, and you cannot do anything about it.
Yeah, you just have to stand there and wait and hope you do not miss anything important.
So, let us quickly check your listening. I'm going to say the main points again. In simpler words, Sarah was on the subway. In the morning, the train was very, very crowded, completely full. Then the train stopped in a tunnel and did not move for quite a long time. Because of that, she arrived about 20 minutes late. Sarah, did I get that right?
Yes, that is exactly what happened.
Okay, so for our first question, what was the cause of the delay again?
There was a signal problem on the line, so the driver had to stop the train and wait.
Right, a signal problem. And the second question, which word did you use to describe how you felt?
I said I was so annoyed. So, annoyed means kind of a bit angry, a bit frustrated when something is just not fair or not convenient.
Yeah, not totally furious, but really not happy. Like when your bus is late 3 days in a row, you feel annoyed.
Exactly. And in a city, public transport can make you feel that way quite often.
So, you heard Sarah's story about being stuck on the train, packed like sardines, and feeling really annoyed. In this episode, we want to help you tell your own stories like that in natural English. You probably already know basic words like bus, train, station, but often, learners do not know the little phrases that make a story sound real and interesting. Next, we will look at some really useful vocabulary and expressions you can use to talk about public transport problems, delays, and crowded situations, just like in Sarah's story.
So, in this chapter, let's zoom in on some really useful phrases for public transport, yeah? Because many learners just say things like, "it was late," or "there were many people," and the story feels a bit flat, a bit robotic.
Exactly. The grammar is fine, but it doesn't sound like how people actually talk about their commute. So we want to give you just a few really strong expressions you can use instead.
Right. And we'll keep it simple, not a big dictionary, just some phrases you can really use today on your way to work or school.
Okay, let's start with crowds. A lot of students only say, "it was very full" or "there were many people." A more natural word is crowded, and an even stronger one is packed.
Packed. Yeah, that one is great. Could you explain that slowly?
Sure. When I say it was packed, I mean there were so many people that you can almost not move. You are very close to other people. You maybe touch shoulders, bags, everything. For example, I could say, "the bus was packed this morning and I had to stand right by the door."
So, crowded is, busy with a lot of people. But packed is like the next level, right? Super full.
Yes, exactly. Crowded is a lot of people. Packed is really, really full. And a quick note here. Some learners say, "there were many persons." But in this situation, we say, "there were many people," or just, "it was crowded."
Good point. So, instead of "there were many persons on the train," you can just say, "the train was packed," or "the train was crowded." Much more natural and shorter.
Exactly. And this word, packed, is really common with transport. A packed train, a packed bus, a packed metro.
Okay, so that's one phrase for crowds. Let's move to delays, because public transport and delays go together, sadly.
They really do. One very useful phrase is, "the train was delayed." This is simple, but very natural. It means, the train came later than the timetable said. For example, I can say, "the train was delayed by 20 minutes, so I arrived late to work."
And this is nicer than always saying "the train was late," right? Delayed sounds like the word we really use for transport.
Yes, late is okay, but delayed is what you will see on the screen in the station, and what people say when they talk about a schedule problem. You can use it for trains, buses, flights. My bus was delayed. My flight was delayed.
Can I say the train delayed me?
Good question. Most of the time, no. We usually say the train was delayed or I was delayed by the train. So the structure is a little different. The easy, safe one is the train was delayed.
Got it. So we have it was packed for crowds and the train was delayed for time problems. Let's add one more phrase for those small, annoying problems that happen on the way.
Yeah, one situation that happens a lot is when you do not get off at the right place. A very natural phrase is, I missed my stop. It means the bus or train passed your station and you were still inside. You did not get off in time.
So for example, I was looking at my phone, I did not pay attention, and I missed my stop.
Exactly. And we can also say, I nearly missed my stop if you got out at the last second. Like I nearly missed my stop because I was half asleep, but I jumped off just in time.
Nice. And just to be clear, we do not say, I lost my stop, right?
Right, we don't say that. We say, I missed my stop. Missed, not lost.
Okay, now I want to do a quick little game. I'll be the robot student for a moment. I'll say something that is correct, but a bit strange. And you make it natural. Ready?
I am ready for Robot Alex.
Here we go. Listen to this. The train was very full and I felt much inconvenience.
Okay, so the meaning is clear, but no one talks like this on a Monday morning. A more natural version would be, the train was packed and it was really uncomfortable. This sounds like real life. Packed is a strong, everyday word. Really uncomfortable is simple and natural.
Yeah, and your sentence has that feeling. I can almost feel the crowd when you say, the train was packed.
Exactly. And also, the phrase, much inconvenience, is very formal. It sounds like a letter from a company, not a normal conversation. So instead, just say something like, it was such a pain, or it was really annoying, or like I said, it was really uncomfortable.
Okay, robot sentence number 2. I experienced many difficulties during my trip on the underground.
Yeah, that one sounds like a report for your boss. In a normal chat with a friend, you could say, my trip on the subway was a bit of a nightmare. Or my journey on the metro was kind of a nightmare. That little phrase, a bit of a nightmare, is very natural when something goes wrong in a stressful way.
I like that. So instead of, I experienced many difficulties, I can just say, it was a bit of a nightmare. Same meaning, but more human.
Yes, it gives emotion as well, not only information.
All right, let's do a tiny recap. For crowds, we have words like crowded and especially packed. For delays, a key phrase is the train was delayed. And for small problems, we had I missed my stop.
And we also saw that you can make your story sound more natural with phrases like, it was really uncomfortable, or it was a bit of a nightmare, instead of very full and many difficulties.
So now, you have some stronger vocabulary to talk about crowded trains, delays, and those little problems on the way. But vocabulary is only half of the story. The other half is how you put these words together into a clear story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Many learners just list facts like train late, very crowded, I was angry. In the next chapter, Sarah and I will show you how to turn these phrases into a short, simple story about your commute, including what happened and how you felt. So now, we want to help you build a clear little story about your commute, about one public transport experience.
Yeah, and we are not writing a novel here. Just a short, simple story that other people can follow easily.
The structure is very simple. 4 parts. First, set the scene, then explain the problem. After that, say what happened next, and finally, share how you felt.
And we are going to do this together step by step. I will take my commute example from before and break it into these 4 parts.
Okay, so, part 1. Set the scene. This means, give a little background. When was it? Where were you? And what were you doing?
Yeah, something like, yesterday morning I was taking the subway to work during rush hour.
Notice the details there. Yesterday morning, to work, during rush hour. These small details help the listener see the picture in their mind. They can imagine the time, the place, and the situation.
Exactly. You do not need a lot of description, just a few clear details. For example, last Friday evening I was on the bus home after work. Or, this morning I was waiting for the tram to go to class.
So, when you set the scene, think time, transport, purpose. Like yesterday morning, on the metro, going to the office.
Right. Okay, part 2 is explain the problem. This is where your story becomes interesting. Something did not go as planned.
And here, we can use some of the vocabulary from before. Things like delayed, packed, stuck. But also, we want to show cause and effect. We want to show why something happened.
So my example could be, the train was delayed because of a signal problem and it was completely packed. Because of the delay, I was stuck on the train for 20 minutes.
Listen to that phrase. Because this is a really useful expression. It shows the reason. Because of the signal problem. Because of the heavy traffic. Because of the snow. It is a little different from just saying, because it was snowing.
Yeah, with because of, you usually put a noun or a noun phrase. For example, the bus was late because of an accident. Or, because of the rain, everyone was taking the subway instead of walking.
Another small but powerful word is so. It is also for cause and effect, but more for the result. For example, there was a big delay, so I missed the beginning of my meeting.
Yeah, you can connect them. Because of the delay, the train was packed, so I could not sit down. You see the logic very clearly when you use these little words.
Okay. Part 3 now. What happened next? How did the situation develop? This is where you tell the sequence, the order of events.
And here, we want to use simple connectors. Instead of just saying, and, we can say, then, after that, and in the end.
So with your story, how would you say it with those connectors?
I might say, then the train finally started moving. After that, we stopped at every station and more people got on. In the end, I arrived at the office 20 minutes late for my meeting.
Those 3 words, then, after that, in the end, make the story feel smooth. The listener does not get lost. They know what happened first, what came after, and how it finished.
Yeah, and you can also use a nice alternative for in the end. You can say, eventually. For example, eventually I got to the office, but I was 20 minutes late.
Eventually is great. It gives the feeling. It took some time, but finally it happened. Eventually the bus arrived. Eventually the crowd started to move.
So if you want to sound a bit more natural, you can mix these. Then after that, and eventually, not just and.
All right, part 4. Feelings. How you felt is very important. It makes your story human, but many learners only say, I was angry or I was sad.
Yeah, or they say something like, I was very negative, or I felt much discomfort. Those are correct in a way, but they do not sound natural in everyday conversation.
So what are some more natural options we can use here?
You can say, I was really annoyed. It was so frustrating, I felt a bit stressed. Or, it was kind of embarrassing. These are all great for B2 level, and we use them a lot in daily life.
Can you put those feelings into your commute story so we hear them in context?
Sure. I could say, in the end, I arrived 20 minutes late and I was really annoyed because I had prepared for this meeting. It was so frustrating to be stuck on the train and not be able to do anything. And when I walked into the room late, It was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, annoyed and frustrated sound much more natural than I felt much discomfort. And kind of embarrassing is a very soft, friendly way to describe that feeling.
Also, notice I used a little phrase, a bit. I felt a bit stressed. That makes the feeling sound smaller, more casual. You can change it. A bit stressed, really stressed, super stressed. It gives you control over how strong the feeling is.
Okay, so we have the 4 parts. Set the scene. Explain the problem with cause and effect. Say what happened next with connectors. And finally, describe how you felt with natural emotion words.
Maybe now you can try to retell my story using these 4 steps. I will listen, and maybe I will change 1 or 2 small things to make it sound a bit more natural.
All right, let me try. So, yesterday morning, you were taking the subway to work during rush hour. That is the scene. Then, the train was delayed because of a signal problem, and it was completely packed, so you were stuck on the train for about 20 minutes. After that, the train finally started moving, but it stopped at every station. In the end, or eventually, you arrived at the office around 20 minutes late, and you felt really annoyed and frustrated, and it was kind of embarrassing to walk into the meeting late.
That was really clear. I might change just 1 or 2 things. For example, I would probably say completely packed, so you could not move, instead of just repeating stuck again. And maybe, in the end, I got to the office about 20 minutes late instead of around. But your version already sounds very natural.
So this is something you can do too. You can start with a simple version and then just upgrade 1 or 2 expressions. Maybe change angry to really annoyed, or add because of to show the reason. You do not need to change every single word.
Yeah. Focus on making your story easy to follow. Clear steps and clear connections between them. That is much more important than perfect grammar.
So now you know how to structure a short story about your commute and how to explain what happened and how you felt in a way that other people can really understand.
But just understanding the structure is not enough. You need to actually try it with your own stories, with your own experiences.
In the next part, we are going to guide you through some practice. We will give you questions and small pauses so you can try to describe your own public transport experiences out loud. So now we are going to do a little speaking workout together, a mini training session for your mouth and your brain.
Yeah. And this time we really want you to talk, not just listen. Actually speak out loud if you can.
If you are on a bus or walking somewhere, that is fine. You can speak quietly or even just whisper. It still helps. It really does.
And remember the simple structure from before, from the last chapter. We will use the same steps.
Yeah. So, step 1, set the scene. Step 2, explain the problem. Step 3, say what happened next. And step 4, share how you felt about it.
We will guide you with questions, and we will leave little pauses, small moments of silence, so you can answer in your own words.
First, we will do a quick model. I will talk to Sarah like she is a learner. Then we will turn to you. Ready? Okay. Sarah, first, set the scene. How did you travel last week? By bus, by train, or by subway?
Let me think. Okay. Last Friday evening, I took a crowded bus home from work during rush hour.
Nice. Short and clear. Last Friday evening, I took a crowded bus home from work during rush hour. You gave the time, the type of transport, and a little detail, crowded and rush hour.
Yeah, and I did not make it too long. Just 1 sentence, but with enough information to paint a picture.
Okay. Next question. What was the problem on that trip?
So, the bus got stuck in traffic for almost 40 minutes, and at one point, the driver missed my stop.
Yeah, I like that. Got stuck in traffic is very natural, It just means the traffic was so bad you could not really move. And the driver missed my stop is perfect for when they forget or they do not open the door at your stop.
And notice, I did not use many fancy words, just everyday language, but together it sounds like a real story.
Okay, now it is your turn. We will guide you step by step. So, first, set the scene. How did you travel recently? Think of one trip, maybe yesterday or last week.
Try to say the time and the type of transport. You can start like this. Yesterday morning I was taking, or last weekend I caught a...
Okay, now you. Say one clear sentence to set the scene. We will give you a little space.
Pause here and talk. Just one sentence is enough.
Good. Even if it felt strange, that is great practice. Now, step 2. What was the problem on that trip? Was there a delay? Was it very crowded? Did something go wrong?
You can start with something like, the train was delayed because of, or the bus was so crowded that...
Yeah, or maybe there was an announcement and then you explain what happened. Okay, now you try. Explain the problem in 1 or 2 sentences.
Take a breath and say it out loud now.
Bayain.
Nice. And do not worry if your grammar was not perfect. The important thing is that your message is clear.
Okay, step 3. What happened next? So after the problem, then what? Did you have to wait? Did you change to another train or bus? Did you call someone?
You can use phrases like, so in the end I decided to, or after that, we finally.
All right, your turn again. Tell the next part of your story. 1 or 2 short sentences. What happened after the problem?
Go ahead, say it now. We will wait.
Nice work.
And now the last step, step 4. Say how you felt. This is the emotional part.
Yeah, you can say things like, I was really frustrated, or I felt relieved when it was over, or maybe, actually, it was kind of funny in the end.
So think for a second, and then say one short sentence about your feeling.
Okay, your turn. How did you feel in that situation? Say it out loud now.
Just a simple feeling word is enough. Angry, stressed, tired, relaxed, amused.
Great. So you just told a full little story. Scene, problem, what happened next, and feeling. That is the basic structure.
Now let us talk about small mistakes, the funny human ones, because everyone has them on public transport.
Yeah, I will give you one of mine. One time I was in a new city and I got on the subway. I thought, okay, perfect, this is my line. I sat down, started listening to music, and then I noticed the station names were going in the opposite direction.
Oh no.
Yeah, I realized I was on the right line, but the wrong direction, and I noticed too late. I had already gone maybe 5 or 6 stops the wrong way, so I had to get off, cross to the other side, and go all the way back again.
That is such a classic mistake. It happens to almost everyone, and it is a good story to tell, actually.
Yeah, and one nice phrase for this is wrong direction. Very simple, but really useful, like, I got on the train in the wrong direction.
I heard a small learner story from a friend. She said once she stood in the wrong carriage on a long train. She wanted the quiet carriage, but she did not notice the sign and stayed in the noisy one the whole time.
Oh, that is annoying.
Yeah, she told me, I was too shy to move, so I just stayed there. But it became a funny story later. By the way, carriage is the word for one section of a train where people sit or stand.
And another useful little phrase here is tap the wrong card. On some systems, you tap a card to pay, right? So if you use the wrong one, you can say, I tapped the wrong card and it did not work.
So now, your turn again. Have you ever made a small mistake on public transport? For example, got on the wrong bus or got off at the wrong station, or maybe you forgot to tap your card.
Think of one moment. It does not have to be a big drama, just something a bit embarrassing or funny. We will ask you some questions to help.
First question, what was the mistake? Try to say one clear sentence. For example, I got off one stop too early, or I took the bus in the wrong direction.
Okay, now you, say what the mistake was.
Speak it out now.
Good. Now, what did you do after you realized your mistake? Did you get off at the next stop? Did you go back? Did you call someone to explain?
You can start with, when I realized it, and then say your action. For example, when I realized it, I crossed the platform and changed trains.
All right, your turn. Tell us what you did next.
Go on, say one or two short sentences now.
And finally, how did you feel in that moment? Maybe embarrassed, maybe stressed, maybe you laughed at yourself later.
Try one simple line. For example, at first I was really embarrassed, but later I found it funny.
Okay, say your version now. How did you feel?
Just let it come out. Do not overthink it.
Nice. You are doing exactly what fluent speakers do, telling small, everyday stories, including the mistakes.
And remember, you do not need perfect grammar or perfect words. These are real-life stories, not exam answers.
If you talked out loud in this chapter, that is really good work. Even if it felt a bit awkward, you are building fluency every time you open your mouth.
Yeah, and many learners worry that their English sounds too formal or too much like a textbook when they tell these stories.
So in the next chapter, Sarah and I will look at some more natural, everyday ways to talk about these public transport experiences. We will also talk about a few common mistakes learners make and how to fix them, so your stories sound more like real conversation. So, in the last part, you answered some questions about your own transport stories. Maybe you talked about a bus delay, or a crowded train, or missing your stop. And I guess many of you probably used very safe English, very textbook English, and that is totally okay. Now, in this part, we want to help you make those same ideas sound more relaxed, more like how people really speak.
Yeah, exactly. We are not saying your English is wrong. We just want to move it a little bit, away from the book and a little bit closer to real life. So we will take some kind of robotic sentences and turn them into natural ones.
Okay, let me start with a classic textbook sentence. Listen to this. I utilized the train to go to my office, but there was a big delay and I became very angry. Sarah, if a student said this to you in conversation, how would you feel?
I would feel two things. One, I understand it. It is clear. But two, it sounds way too formal for normal speaking. The word utilized is the big problem. We almost never say that when we talk about daily travel. In a simple story, we usually just say, take. So, I took the train.
Right, so instead of I utilized the train to go to my office, but there was a big delay and I became very angry, you might say something like, I took the train to work, but it was delayed and I got really annoyed. Same idea, but much more natural.
Yeah, and listen to the verbs there. It was delayed is very common. And I got really annoyed sounds much more like normal speech than I became very angry. We still understand you if you say the long version, but the short, simple one feels more like everyday conversation.
Okay, here is another one I hear a lot. There were many peoples and I felt very uncomfortable. Sarah is already smiling.
Yeah, because this is super common. So two things. First, we do not say peoples here. We just say people. Even if there are 100 people, we still say people. And second, for this kind of situation, a more natural word is crowded. So we might say, it was so crowded I felt really uncomfortable.
So, not there were many peoples and I felt very uncomfortable, but maybe it was so crowded I felt really uncomfortable. Same story, but shorter and easier to say.
Exactly. And we often move the focus away from numbers like many or a lot of and talk about the feeling. It was packed. It was really crowded. We use those a lot when we talk about buses and trains.
All right, let me try another stiff one. I was very late because of traffic jam. This is also something we see all the time in textbooks.
Yeah, so again, we understand it, but we can make it sound more natural and personal. Usually we add a and say, traffic jam. And even more natural is a small change in structure, like, I was really late because we got stuck in traffic. That little phrase, got stuck in traffic, is something you will hear again and again in real conversations.
So, listen to the difference. Robot style. I was very late because of traffic jam. Natural style. I was really late because we got stuck in traffic. Same idea, but it feels like a person is talking, not a homework exercise.
Yeah, and you can personalize it even more. I was really late because the bus got stuck in traffic, or because the tram got stuck in traffic. Just add your real situation.
Okay, one more funny one. I'm going to read this like a robot, or like a very serious letter. I wish to inform you that the bus was very full and I suffered much inconvenience. It sounds like I'm writing to the government.
Yeah, it sounds like a formal complaint. But when we are just chatting with a friend, we make that much simpler. Something like, the bus was packed. It was really uncomfortable and I ended up arriving late. Shorter sentences, very common words.
And you used a nice little pattern there. I ended up arriving late. This is one of the patterns we want to share with you now so you can use them in your own stories.
Yeah. So we will give you 3 useful patterns. You can copy them and change 1 or 2 details to make them your own. No big grammar explanation, just patterns you can feel and reuse.
Okay, before we teach them, I want you to do something. Think back to the story you told earlier in this episode, maybe about a delay or a mistake or something strange on the train. Try to remember one sentence that felt a bit awkward or too formal. Maybe you used a very long word. Hold that sentence in your head for a moment.
Yeah, keep that sentence in your mind while we go through the patterns. You do not need to say it out loud, just be ready to change it a little. Okay, so pattern number 1 is, I ended up.
Right. So, I ended up. This pattern is great when something happens in the end that you did not really plan. For example, with transport.
Yeah, for example, the train was canceled, so I ended up taking a taxi. Here, ended up means, finally, in the end, this is what happened, maybe by surprise. So, listener, try it with your story. Maybe, I ended up walking home, or I ended up getting off at the wrong station.
Nice. So that is the first one. Pattern number 2 is, it was so that.
Yeah, it was so that. We use this to show a strong result. For example, with transport, we can say, it was so crowded that I could not move, or it was so slow that I missed my meeting. So think of your story again. Can you make one sentence with, it was so that? Maybe, it was so noisy that I could not hear the announcements.
And the last pattern is, I nearly.
Yeah. I nearly means almost, but it did not really happen. For example, the bus driver braked suddenly and I nearly fell over. Or, I nearly missed my stop because I was checking my phone. So with your own story, maybe, I nearly got on the wrong train, or I nearly forgot my ticket.
So, just to connect this to the bigger idea, when you tell your transport stories,
You do not need super formal words like utilized or very long, polite sentences. You can use short, clear patterns like I ended up, it was so that, and I nearly.
Yeah, and remember, the goal is not to sound perfect. The goal is to sound like yourself, but in English. If your sentence is a little simple, that is fine. Simple is often more natural. So choose one sentence from your story and see if you can change it with one of these patterns. Even in your head, that is already good practice.
Okay, so now you know some more natural ways to talk about your own public transport stories and those little mistakes or surprises on the way. In our last part, we will quickly review what you have learned today and give you a small mission you can try on your next real bus or train ride. So, stay with us for the final section.
All right, we are coming to the end of this episode now. So, before we say goodbye, let us just breathe for a second and look back at what you did today.
Yeah, you actually covered a lot. First, you listened to my real commute story with the delay and the crowded train. Then we played with vocabulary, and you practiced telling your own story with a clear beginning, middle, and end.
And then, in the last parts, we tried to make your English feel less robotic, more like a real person talking about their day. So now, you should be able to describe a public transport experience, what happened, and how you felt, in clear, natural English.
Exactly. So, before we finish, let us pick just a few really useful phrases from today. Not everything, just the top ones you can use right away.
Okay, first one for crowded situations. Instead of saying, there were many people on the bus, you can say, it was packed. Packed just means very, very full. For example, the metro was packed this morning. I could hardly move.
Yeah, that one is great. Second one, for delays. You can say, the train was delayed because of an accident, or we got stuck in traffic. Stuck in traffic means you are in a car or bus and everything is moving super slowly or not moving at all, like we got stuck in traffic on the way to the airport and I almost missed my flight.
Nice. Third one, a feeling word. Instead of just saying, I was angry or I was not happy, you can say, I was really annoyed or it was so frustrating. For example, my bus just never came. It was so frustrating.
And we also used one simple story connector, in the end. It is great for the last part of your story, like, in the end, I arrived 20 minutes late.
Let me put those together into one short, natural story. Listen to this. Yesterday morning, I was taking the bus to work. It was packed. Then we got stuck in traffic. And in the end, I arrived 20 minutes late. I was really annoyed. That is exactly the kind of B2 story we are aiming for.
Yeah, and notice, that story is not long, it is not perfect, but it sounds real. That is what we want for you too.
So now, a little reflection for you. Think about one public transport story from your life. Maybe last week, maybe this morning. How would you tell that story? Before this episode, maybe something like, the bus was very late. There were many people. I was not happy.
And now, after this episode, how could you tell the same story with stronger, more natural words? Maybe the bus was delayed, it was packed, we got stuck in traffic, and in the end, I arrived late. I was really annoyed. You see the difference? Not huge, but it feels more alive.
So just notice that. Even a small upgrade is still progress. Now, Let us give you your real-life mission.
Okay, next time you are on a bus, a train, or in a taxi, I want you to do a little private exercise in English for 1 or 2 minutes in your head or very quietly. Describe the situation.
Use the same structure we practiced. First, set the scene. Where are you? What time is it? Is it packed or empty? Then, explain any problem. Maybe it is delayed. Maybe you are stuck in traffic.
After that, say what happens next. Do you change buses? Do you arrive late? Does something funny happen? And finally, describe how you feel. Annoyed, frustrated, relaxed, surprised. Anything that fits.
You can do this silently in your mind or softly under your breath so no one hears you. It is like a mini speaking workout during your real commute.
And if you want an extra challenge after the ride, take your phone, open the voice recorder, and record yourself telling the story in English. Then later, listen again and try to change 1 or 2 stiff phrases into something more natural. Maybe change many people to "it was packed" or "very late" to "it was delayed."
If you do this a few times, you will see your stories start to feel smoother, not perfect, but more natural.
And please remember, you do not need to sound like a native speaker. You do not need to be perfect. Even native speakers have terrible public transport days. We all have our own fail stories.
Yeah, everybody misses trains. Everybody gets stuck. Everybody complains. So be kind to yourself. You are doing great just by listening and actually practicing out loud with us.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. And thank you for trusting us with your English practice. We are really happy to be part of your study routine.
All right, from both of us, this is the end of the episode. Take care. Keep noticing those small improvements, and we will talk to you in the next one. Bye for now.
Bye, and happy travels.